If you are
Oh.
interested, a very particular style and flavor of traditional Irish singing, stick around. Um, would love to have you. It's a little bit complicated, so if you stick around for today, tomorrow, and the next day, we'll have a little bit of a progression in terms of intensity and skill level increase. Um, so yeah, would love to have you here if you're interested in singing. It's not just going to be talking, it'll also be participatory. So I'm going to give folks maybe another minute to wander in and wander out to the next thing and figure out what they're doing. And thank you, Wen, for showing up and assisting me with this process.
Sure, no problem.
I really
Do you prefer to share it from your screen so you can control what we're seeing, or do you want me to share it from my screen?
um I would be fine with you doing it if you're comfortable with that. But I'm also okay with doing that. I'm gonna have a hard time concentrating on the instruction as well as keeping track of the chat. So,
Okay, no
um,
worries. I'm ready.
hooray! Okay. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Lark Camp 2024 Virtual Lark. I'm Amelia Hogan, and this is my, what is it, fourth year doing a Sean-nòs singing workshop here at Lark, Virtual Lark. And I have some little bit of information that I'm going to start out with, and we're going to keep referring back to. When, if you'd be so kind as to put the notes on Sean-nòs singing into the chat, the link for it, then people can follow along with some of the information that we go over, and I can get into a little bit more depth there. Um, so I've been teaching Irish singing and singing in Irish for a good 20 years. My background is I'm American. I was born on Turtle Island, the US of A. I was not born in Ireland. I come to this through a history of learning from my elders directly. So please, please, please put your questions and comments and things in the chat, and I hope that we can navigate this easily and in a fun way. And then at the very, very end, if you love what you learned and heard and found, let them know. Let Lark know, because that's how we get asked to come back. Um, Donate, of course, if you can, to the Lark cause so that we can keep offering great music to people from all over the world and support the instructors and make it free for attendees. Um, so, little bit. What is Irish Sean-nòs music? It is unaccompanied traditional song. It's mostly um, in Irish language, but it is not exclusively in Irish. So it's a way of thinking about the material, both rhythmically and emotionally. I would say that a really common characteristic of singing in Irish is to embody the song, the emotional quotient behind the song, and understanding very particular on a personal level something that is true about the song emotionally for you as you do it. I would say that while I am somewhat familiar with singing in Irish, enough to help others walk into it from a background of being primarily an English language first person, I also heard it as a kid. So, uh, from my dad's mom, who was from the north of Ireland, the North Republic of Ireland. Um, Anne Barker was born in Donegal and came to the US as a young lady and occasionally spoke in Irish, but with an Ulster accent. So it sounds very different from what you would learn at a university in Munster, Ireland, in the south, or at a university in, for example, like Leinster and Dublin. Those are all very different series of sounds. A little bit more background. I have been hearing, as I say, old singers singing, which is the most, I guess, how would you even say, authentic? Like, this is what the art form is. Way of approaching this music is to learn it from people, not from static recordings. So if you approach the music from the perspective that it is alive and you have a conversation with it from your most sincere self, you're going to do much better and be able to take it much farther than if you don't really understand the words you're singing or the why of the story within it. Um, it covers love songs. It covers laments and lullabies. It covers ashlings, which are, as I say, the like a lullaby. It's a dream song. But the words themselves, Sean-nòs, literally just means old style. And it's not Sean, and it's not Shan, it's Shan. And of course, you're going to have a little bit of variation depending on what part of Ireland you heard and learned it in. Please keep in mind, if my pronunciation doesn't sound like your Duolingo, it's probably because I didn't learn my sounds from Duolingo. I learned it from people in their very particular parts of Ireland and from various parts of Ireland, including my grandma. So some people say I have a weird amalgamation of Munster and Ulster Irish sounds to my singing. Sorry, that's what you get with me. Approach it with as much open mindedness as possible, and you'll be well on your way. So, I would say that academic approaches to it really struggle with the openness of the rhythms of Sean-nòs. I'm just going to talk for another couple minutes about what it is, what it isn't. There's subtle meaning in each phrase, and it's a highly lyrical style. So you would find a lot of ornamentation, different amounts and in different places, depending on where you learned your songs, who you learned them from. And having heard the versions of songs that I'm singing from very specific people, you might be able to hear those influences from the way I sing. But the job of a Sean-nòs singer is to make it your own and to find the thing that is true and correct and real for you about it. And I don't mean go out and murder someone and be sad about it. I mean find the thing that is, if it's a tragedy song, find the thing that is tragic in your own heart and in your own life to remember as you're singing the very words that are mentioning the lamenting and the sadness. And if you are looking for something that is a joy-filled song, then find that joy within you, or the thing that is joyful in your own experiences to bring to the storytelling. And then you have more of an ability to bring people into that conversation with the song with you. You will often find people doing this kind of winding, or having somebody else sort of lead them through the song with this winding as they close their eyes. It's less performance and more what they say is saying a song, or like it's like people almost go into the story and need to be winded up to keep it moving forward. But because it's a fairly arrhythmic style, you may find that it's very, very, very hard to accompany. So in finger instrumental form, people would say that the biggest equivalent would be an air. So it's got a very free form melodic structure. Rubato might be the closest in notation. Very open, very loose, speeding up and slowing down, sort of like it's breathing or something. What is Irish Sean-nòs not? It is not every single song that's in Irish. You're going to find battle songs. You're going to find rebellion songs. You're going to find love songs. You're going to find pub songs that are in Irish. and none of those is Sean-nòs. It's not every single traditional Irish song, like "My love is a rose that in yonder garden grows, and fair is the lily of the valley," right? Like, it's not every single one that's got a metronomic pulse to it. It's not every story song. Again, some of those have a cadence and a rhythm to them that is a little bit like what my friend Julie Hannigan calls putting a straitjacket on the song. Don't squeeze it into a rhythm just because you're more familiar and it's easier. Let the song speak itself. It's not a classical aria. And by that I mean those tend to have their own innate structure. They're very wide and open in terms of the rhythm in many cases, and in some cases you can accompany them fairly easily in things like waltz time. It's also not a loud kind of singing. It's not belting, right? So if you are trying to be heard 100 miles down the road, across the mountaintops or the moors, this is not that. Um, it's not always the most floral ornamentation just because we like it and it's pretty. I will tell you a little bit more about that in a moment, but suffice to say that ornamentation is an expression of the story of the song and what you are moved by in a moment to emphasize, you as the singer. And to make it yours, you would find your moments where it makes the most sense to you to place your own ornaments. I'm going to put my computer on focus and do not disturb. La la la, sorry about the beeps and bloops. And it is really, really, really hard to sing it the same way twice. And there's a reason for this. The reason is that when you enter a conversational space with an entity, a being, a song, another person in the room that you're singing it with or for, you are in one headspace or one emotional space. If you do the same thing twice, the room will be different. Your headspace will be different, having already done it before. The song itself, if you treat it through an animist lens, like it's alive, then you know that you can't put it in a straitjacket and make it stay put where you last put it exactly so. If you've ever been into a recording studio, you will also know that songs never stay exactly the same way twice. You never actually get to sing them precisely the same, with every breath just as deep and every tone just as clear and in just the right places. It never happens. So no matter how consistent you are as a singer, just understand that copying a recording might make that harder to really sink into your bones, that it gets to be different every single time. And they don't usually have choruses per se. We will go over a couple of fun things about songs with choruses, but ultimately, if it has a chorus, it's probably got a meter so that people can follow you with it, right? It's probably got some tempo that's fairly consistent and easy to find as a listener, right? In recent years, it's been harder to distinguish regional styles. I will say that also, that Northern Irish Sean-nòs singing tends to be punctuated a little bit differently with ornamentation. And by ornamentation, I will give you a few examples. We have various kinds of rolls and triplets. I'm just picking something at random. It doesn't even have to be a song. Those are all examples of ornamentation. Give you another example. Right? That's the melody of a song called Johnny and Molly. da 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 la da 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 dum dum. That song has a much more southern or Munster Irish ornamentation to it, which has become really common and really popular in the oireachtas, or the competitions for singing, because people find the things that win are what's going to be copied going forward. Well, the things that win have the most florid ornamentation. So you'll find more northern singers copying southern singers to maybe jump on that winning bandwagon. Um, but it's less about the specific regional style and more about what's winning the competition. So it changes the art form. A little bit funky, a little bit interesting. Questions. Let me stop here for just a second. Anybody have anything at the moment? This all sound very interesting and weird and wonderful, I hope. No? Good. Okay. We're going to launch into a song called The White Rabbit. It's one of my very favorite things as an example, in part because what we're doing with the song is we are giving it a Sean-nòs feel, even though it's in English. And in the second half of this workshop, we will be launching into breaking down a fabulous song that's just in keeping with the season called Gawamolta Bríde. And it is about the saint and goddess, and however you refer to the historical figure of Bridget or Breed. And we'll sort of go over some of the sounds and the way to treat them depending on what we're seeing on the written page. Yes.
Question, Amelia. I'm going to share the screen. Did you want me to also share the folder or not, or just the share screen? It's up to you.
Um, Go ahead and share the file within the folder if you can.
The specific
Yeah.
file. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. We're going to start though with the white rabbit so that I can sort of show you how we're going to stretch and push and pull the rhythm a little bit to open it up and give it a little bit of that Sean-nòs treatment. And then, are you up for sharing screen with that one also? Yes.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm going to
So
adjust.
Grace, sure, sure.
Give me one second. I'm just adjusting the size.
Mhm.
Keep going. You can keep talking. I'll fiddle with it.
Perfect. Um, so Grace Slick, singer from that was super well known when she was a part of Jefferson Airplane, now Jefferson Starship, um, or I guess more recently Jefferson Starship. Are they still playing? I don't know. But that she wrote the song about Alice in Wonderland, and it's got really interesting rhythmic pulse to it, so it's got some room to open it up, I think. Now, if you were to sing it in the way that she does it recorded, you'd probably go dum 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 dum. One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you small. And the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice, right? You can hear the pulse behind it. You can hear that cadence and that rhythm. But now, what do we do if we open it up and give it a sort of psychedelic openness in this Sean-nòs way? Thankfully, we started with English, so we don't have to add the complexity of looking at sounds that are not written in the most easy way to phonetically transcribe for people. We're just looking at this version of um, uh, English language. So if I were to open up that first line, and then I'm going to start calling on people to give it a go, One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you small. Right? I just totally opened it up in a really weird way, and you're not sure how to follow it. And like, what's the rhythm in that? Because it's less important than feeling the words. I'm looking at two pills in my hands and going, oh my God, what are they going to do to discombobulate me? When I sing about something making the ingester, I guess we'll call them, the participant in this hallucinatory experience, um, about making them larger, I go up. I lift my voice up and I give ornamentation to expand out the sound. And I drop down and I bring it in close to make it small, right? So let's sort of see a raised hand in the group and let's give it a go to just try to open up this song line by line. Who wants to give it a go? Oh God, my cat's gonna eat the Christmas tree. Um, that's not good. Oh, okay. Anybody? Literally anybody.
I think Linda is volunteering.
Cool. Linda, let's give it a go.
Okay, I know this. I have played this song, so I'll have to work at making it different. Okay.
Make it open. Open it
How,
up.
how far do you want me to go? One verse?
The next line, and the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all.
Do the start there.
Yeah.
And the one that mother gives you, don't do anything at. That doesn't sound right. Don't do anything at all.
Interesting. I like it. I like it. Um, one of the really cool things you did was you made it yours by some of the other vocal stylings you brought in. Did it sound tonally especially Irish? Nah, not so much. But did it sound like yours? And like it's got the openness of the Sean-nòs? Absolutely it did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this style is completely unknown to me.
I forgot this.
Okay.
You're the Shun. Oh, that wasn't near me. Huh?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it till now.
Great. Well, then welcome and it's fabulous to have you. Who wants to go next? Who wants to try Go Ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall? Anybody? Anybody? Here's a moment to show off if you like. Anybody who feels like they've already got this pat down and they've worked it a very long time and they just, now's your chance.
Doris wants to.
Great. Go ahead.
Okay, I practiced a little bit.
Okay. Fabulous.
All right, ready?
Yep.
One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you small. And the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all.
Nice. Okay. Thank you, Doris. So I'm just gonna do
Yep.
those two little bits and then we're gonna jump into Irish. I'm gonna sing it the way I did because Donna asked for that. It was beautifully done, Doris, by the way. And as did you notice, everybody who's listening, how much more open and fluid and interesting she made the melody? And she still brought it back to the core, the bones of it, right? The sort of spine of the song, which allows her to be able to make those ornaments where she wants them and where she's feeling them as a singer. So I'll sing it one more time and then we'll launch into, and I'll sing it both simple, very clean, and also very florid, very ornamented, right? Melismatic is what they call that. One pill makes you larger, and one pill don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall. Right? So I had it a little bit switched, but that's a more melismatic version. And if I were doing it simple, one pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you small, and the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Still more open than the original, because we're not trying to squeeze it to a metronomic time signature. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall. One of the things I especially like doing with students, does that help you, Donna, in terms of hearing how to bring more of that floral, that sort of big thing? Yeah, thanks so much, Alex. So one of the things that we're doing there is we're noticing both how to open up the song in terms of the space around the phrasing and the notes, so that the words can be true, can be felt, can be heard on a more visceral level. And then in some cases, I added things to bring the listener into the story with me. So in that really highly ornamented version, that's what I was doing with those ornaments. I was like leading you by the hand to follow the swoops and sways of being in this colorscape. Mental colorscape. Like, make sure that you find yourself feeling about it. I think that's the best way to do it. Okay. Any questions on any of that so far? I know it's a fairly complicated thing to get launched into in a 1-hour session. It is an art form that takes a lifetime to learn. There is always more to explore and play with and try out. I'm going to launch into a song called Gawa Molte Brige.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Can I ask a quick question? For these songs, is it always an improvisation, or is there kind of like a bass melody that you wiggle from, or do you just make up like a random melody every time?
There's a core. There's a sort of spine, I would call it, to the melody that then I keep coming back to. And depending on how I'm feeling in a given moment, I might add totally different spacing around it. A little bit like jazz improvisation. It's not entirely improvisation. You still have to come back to the key and the tempo that the rest of the band is playing with eventually. And someone said here that it's a very nasal and closed throat as opposed to open and breathing from the diaphragm. Is this the Irish way? I would say it's the way I do it. It's definitely wrong on every level in terms of classical training. I have heard more times than I can count that everything you do is wrong. I have no idea why it sounds good. Operatic singers have said this to me more times than is fun, but there's a totally different structure and series of rules of how to treat the music in different cultures, right? Yes, I would say that's definitely true, Bev. That if you don't know the origin melody, it's hard to improvise because you don't know what you're coming back to, right? So when you learn it from a singer, you want to learn it true. You want to learn it the way that they sing it. And then you can pare back some of the ornaments when you hear them and when you notice, oh, different versions of singers sing it differently. Oh, I like the way that person put it here or there. This is part of why it takes a lifetime to learn, is hearing so many different versions and people doing it. You then don't get a new singer singing it exactly like, or trying to sound exactly like a previous recording. You end up with their experiences of hearing it coming into their version of the song. Does that make sense, everybody? Great. Okay. when, if you would be so kind as to pull up Gao Molta Brija, I think that's the next one we're going to want to do. And she's kind enough to have put it in the chat. This is one of my very favorite, and we put in this one as a little bit of a starter. The English, a version of the phonetics that I think makes it a little bit more accessible.
Is it showing up okay? Because it's blinking on my side. Is the layout okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
it looks really good from here, but
It looks
but
fine.
yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna sing this with a fairly clean, pared down version, not a lot of ornaments. I'm just gonna go top to bottom. A lot of people do the first verse in Irish. It's the same melody. It doesn't have a chorus, as though it were a chorus. So you'll find that modern singers will often they'll sort of build a chorus into the songs they're singing. But that would sort of break it from that tradition of it being a really old style Sean-nòs song. So I'm going to sing it, as I say, clean, and then we can break down some of the sounds, the phonetics of this, okay? Now, Bridget, in case you don't know, is an Irish saint, goddess, historical figure. She's got all kinds of mythology about her over the last 2,000 years. Some of it mentioned as, oh, you only first heard about the name of this person, entity, whatever, through monastic writings. But either way, she's very, very old. She's, as far as we know, at least 1,000 years old, probably an awful lot older. Neo-pagans often like to say she was a goddess way, way, way before Romans and Christians and blah, blah, blah. I leave you to take your own opinions and feelings on the matter. But she's a beloved Irish figure who just now has a national holiday in Ireland, which was yesterday. So this early part of February is where they honor her. I see I added a trill there. Yan wan legach shiri molamish guleri Lochan yal na leine so shefe na tira Yan aro alveran Yan naman narmina Chigan yera jandu Yera lena yera Achar la rija Gardenera heran. So really simple pared down. Tried not to add too many ornaments to there. The first line, as you see, when you see Irish written, I'm going to sort of go through these a little bit by bit. And as I say, if you love learning about this and are having a really good time, please, please, please send notes to the staff of Lark and Virtual Lark and let them know you're having a fabulous time. And I get to come back next year and share more songs with you, and maybe some of these familiar ones. So, when you see an H following certain consonants in the middle of a word, you will find that consonant elided or softened. Thank you, Wen, for wiggling your cursor over that little part right there. Yep, great. So, gawa, when you purse your lips together and go b, w, sometimes you'll hear it almost like a V and almost like a W. W, w, you pull back on that B sound. Go ahead and just make it into yourself in your little rooms as you practice those sounds. B would be a hard aspirated labial closure. So, b, right? B. It's almost plosive. B. But if you soften a b, you sort of open up that sound a little bit. Ooh, it's like a really soft V. So gawa, gawa, gawa. You're like almost touching your lips together to make that elided sound, that softened or glossed over. Malta. Is it Malta or is it Malta? It's probably like a cross between the two. Gawa Malta Bridge. Now, I don't know why Irish does this, but often at the end of a word, you'll see an NNE or an NE or a DE and bridge. It's like ja, ja, bridge. It's just a very soft way of ending the sound, so you'll find that written out that way. Now here it says on one, but I learned the song as a kid with yan one because the I is still there, and where I heard those sounds in the north, yan one. Yan one E. Next thing that's super fun to point out is that MH in that yan one. What happens when you soften an M? Like in Samhain, the time of year, which is late October, early November, All Saints Day, all of that good stuff, Halloween, Samhain, 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 that's what that is. That H elides that M, so it softens. And when you see those little accents over the vowel sounds, those are what they call fada. And fada have you emphasize those vowels. So, yan wan hin yan wan legach. What does that H do to that gach? It softens it. So instead of a k, a forward k sound, it's pulled back. Like loch in Irish is L-O or L-O-C-H in Scottish, in Scots Gaelic. Same kind of treatment in many cases. Now, Scots Gaelic does treat their consonants a little bit differently from Irish in terms of how they write out the sounds. So I am way less familiar with it, and I have to get a lot of help going through trying to sound out the way that Scottish Gaelic is written. But in Irish, it's a little more intuitive for me, just because I'm a little more familiar with what the rules are. And of course, not every region is going to be consistent with this for me. But I hope we can get it a little closer for you in the next 3 days. So, yan wan leach chiri, chiri, che, che, kind of like that bridge, chiri. You see both of those E sounds, that I with the fada is that E, A, E, O, U. And A is a more open, sort of dropped vowel. Like it's a nice open. Ulster Irish is quite similar to, let's see, I'm seeing some notes here, Argyll Gaelic, which you do speak. Fabulous, Anne. Thanks for showing up. It's really nice to have you here. Okay. Let's see, I think I lost the melody there. Totally lost the melody. Gotta start over. Sorry. Yan wan legach chiri molamish guleri. Right? That's the vowel that's emphasized with that little fada. So, I praise Bridget, beloved in Ireland, beloved in all countries. Let us praise her. Isn't she fabulous? She's just like everybody loves her, and this is in honor of her. So it's specifically a lay, which is a song in praise. Right? If you've ever heard that term, a lay. Béarla is English in the Irish language, and Asgaelga is in Irish. So in Irish in particular, Gaelga, as you see at the top of that, is the word for Irish. So Gaelga is in Irish. Curfa, if you see those written in various texts, is chorus, which we don't have here, and you notice it's missing from the top of this. So I want to try pointing to or finding someone new who would like to give it a go. And since you spoke a little bit in the chat about being very similar to Argyle Gaelic, I would love to hear your version of that opening verse if you're up for it.
Okay, not sure about the tune. Gawan molta bridge, Giovanni the Heron, Giovanni Gachiri, Molamish Coleri.
Pretty close, actually. And I like the way you opened it up so it didn't have to sit too tidy in a particular meter. So beautifully done. And I like some of the melodic changes you did actually too. Though you mentioned it may not be entirely intentional, you still did a beautiful job. I will sing the melody one more time, and then we can go with trying one more person to give it a go. And I'll do it in the key you just did it in, because that sounds like that was comfy for you. Gawem molta bridge, Jan wanileran, Jan wanlegak chiri, Molamish galeri. Right? Not too florid. Make it a little more accessible for folks. Who wants to try it? Who wants to give it a go? Anybody? Anybody feeling brave? I believe in you.
Okay, she told me to unmute. This is really flying by the seat of my pants.
Keep flying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, I live in Ulster County, New York.
Ah,
Just saying. I don't know why it's called that here, but it is. Okay. Gawa multa brija, Jan vanille. I know it's the wrong tune. Erin, Jan wale goch chiri, Mola mishkaleri.
okay. It's getting there. It's getting there. Let's pick a pitch that maybe works a little better for you, because Anne's voice is much higher than yours, right? So Linda, let's try Gawa molta brija, and then sing that line back to me.
Gawa multa brija,
Jan wanileran,
Jan waila herin,
Jan wanlegak chiri,
Jan wale goch chiri,
Molamish galeri.
Mola mishkaleri.
Very nice. And Anne, don't worry about your voice being where your voice is. That's totally lovely, Linda, and lovely, Anne. Does anybody else want to give it a go before we move on to the next verse? Now's your chance if you want to play. Ha, ha.
I think Doris, are you?
I
Yeah.
guess I'll try.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
It doesn't sound like a typical song that's a praising song, you know?
Mm.
Sounds very kind of muted, you know? Anyways, um, let's see. Kawamu tabrija, olmani lelari, olwale gochiri, olamish goleri.
Okay. Um, I like a lot of what you did to open up the rhythm with it. I think everybody's singing beautifully. Let me go over the melody a couple more times because it's gonna get a little bit repetitive. Oh, okay. Someone is interested and engaged in listening. That's totally fair. So I'll sing the melody a couple more times, and then I'll add a little bit of ornamentation so you can see what that looks like again. Okay? Gawa monte brilla, yan wanineran, yan wan legak chiri, molamish guleri. Sing it one more time, a little more florid. Gava monte brilla, yan wani la eran, yan wan legak chiri, molamish goleri. Okay, hope folks were singing along at home. Super fun. If you want to sing and want to try something out, here's a great place to give it a go, right? Next, let's try that next verse. Lachran yal na leine, so shufe na chire, Jan aro veran, Jan man armena. Now some people have it menya. I find that my brain always wants to simplify menya to just mena. So that's an error on my part, but it really should be menya, like chira has a little bit of that sound after that preceding consonant. Not sure why. Um, like the name Grania, Grainne as written, or Igrania, is the name that English translation had turned into Grace. That's the anglicized version of that name. So Grace O'Malley became Igrania Amalia, or vice versa. So now sometimes 10 minutes, thank you, Wen. Sol yeah, I wouldn't do that to that F. But some native speakers actually do drop initial consonants or soften them. The name Sean, Sean, or the she, the fairies, the fae, are all spelled with an S followed by a tight vowel at the beginning of the word, and that often becomes sh instead of s. Yeah. So je fais tire Kianaroeran Kianaman Ermina. Let's try someone else. Who wants to give that a go? Just to feel it out. Same melody, same exact melody as we were playing with on the last one. Doesn't have to be perfect. I know we're beginners here, so um, I believe in you if you're timid.
I'll try.
Yeah. Yes, please.
I don't know if I have my thing on, so it may fade in and out. I'll try. Sorry about the tune, wasn't quite right.
But I heard a lot of that openness in terms of the rhythmic structure, which is kind of what we're going for, to be able to hear this this praising song, this lay.
Okay.
Now, Doris pointed out something really lovely earlier, which was that the melody doesn't sound like the words, right? Like, oh my God, if it's a song in praise, why is it in a minor key? That sounds very sad. Well, she wasn't a very liked figure in the Catholic Church in a lot of ways. As a woman, there's some tension around gender equity issues in medieval and pre-medieval and like classical Ireland of 2,000 years ago or so. I believe the earliest mention of a figure in Ireland with a name or the word breed is supposed to be around 530 something AD. And then there were a couple of other things that people say, oh yeah, that was totally her, in these stories written about her that say she was from antiquity. But it's a little bit sad in part because of Irish history being so stuffed full of political disrest or unrest, discomfort regarding Irish identity. So this is, when I say traditional, what I mean is it's been carried more than 3 generations by people who pass it on orally rather than, as I say, in exclusively written form, right? It's typically traditional if we don't know the author. That's my definition of traditional, as opposed to a song that is very old but we know the author, like Robbie Burns songs, of which this is a good time of year to reference. And then last but not least, I'm gonna sing this last one, and we can try to give it a go in the next 5 minutes. But I also want to open it up to questions. If you're curious or want to hear more examples of this, I can like find me in one of the rooms, like maybe the coffee house after, and we can chat about where to find other great examples of Sean-nòs singing to listen to. Thank you, Wen. Yera lena gera achar lo brilla garden arogeran. So I'm going to sing it one more time. Chigan yera jandu. You notice how that G is softened, so it's not a G, it's not a forward G, and it's not a J sound. It's Oh, it's pulled back, so it's very soft. And then there's that H following that M in the middle of the word. Softens it to an almost a W. So what would a W sound like right before that Readh? Wra, Gera, Janduv. So for whatever reason, I followed by a rounder vowel or a more open vowel would often emphasize the second one unless you are specifically writing a fara into the words, which is why it's Janduv. That BH following duv is dark, so darkness, or black, or something of the sort. That's sort of a translation. And then Yara, Lena, Yera. Ach, our law, that A is emphasized in terms of the fara over law. Ach, our law, Lebrige. Gar, Duin. So it's not like Daiwin, it's Dwin. But you do want to actually emphasize that oo part. Duin. Erach, Eran. So I'm going to sing it one more time. Sing with me if you like, and then donate if you can. And again, please, please, please write up if you liked it, if you want to hear something different, if you want to try something more next time. I love doing this for people. I have a lot of fun meeting new people. So, Chigan gera jandu, yara lena gera, achar lalabrija, gardrin eracheran, gava monta brija. Yan wan le ineran, yan wan le ashiri, molemish galeri, lochran gal na leinach, sol shevena chire. Kyan naroveran, kyan naman narnanya. There we have it. That's it. That's the whole of the song in praise of Bridget. Thank you, Wen, so much for sticking around and helping me share the screens and everybody. Donna, your grandmother sang to you when you were little. Fabulous. That's how I have any sound of Irish in my ears at all. Initially, I am going to be wandering over to the coffee house for the next little bit, and hope to see you around tomorrow for the next installment. Do I do virtual concerts? I have done